In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an AI avatar IT support agent. We're going to develop this agent in Python, and I'm going to walk you through everything step by step. I'm also going to show you how to integrate the agent into a custom frontend, and I'm also going to show you how to make the agent perform tasks with the usage of tools.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hi, I'm having trouble logging into my account. Can I share my screen with you so you can have a quick look at it?
Of course, please go ahead and share your screen. I'll take a look and guide you through the steps to solve the login issue.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see your screen. I noticed that the username format you're using is not quite right. It should actually start with a backslash followed by the domain and then another backslash.
You mean like this?
Exactly. That looks correct now. Now go ahead and try signing in again.
Okay, let me try this one more time. It looks like I tried to log in too many times incorrectly. Now I have a different error message. Can you see that?
Yes, I see the message saying your account has been blocked. I'll unblock your account right now so you can try again. Your account has been unblocked. You should be able to log in now.
Okay, let me try this one more time. Yeah, it works now. Thank you. My issue is resolved.
I'm glad to hear that. Now, to wrap things up, I'll create and close a support ticket for this issue. Could you please provide your email address so I can send you a summary of the solution?
Yeah, sure. Let me type it into the chat.
I've sent you a summary of the solution to your email, and the support ticket has been created and closed.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And here we have the email of the support ticket with all of the summary what we just did with the agent.
So let's get started.
So firstly, we would need to set up our development environment where we develop our AI agent. And for that, you can either use VS Code or Cursor. If you already have this set up, you can skip this part. But if you don't, you can simply Google VS Code or Cursor and then download it and install it. I'm going to use Cursor, so I'm going to Google Cursor and then click on the first link. And then over here, you can simply download and install that. After you installed it, you can then open it. I already have it open here. And then you can create a folder somewhere and then you can open it simply by clicking File, Open Folder, and you can open it, and I already have it open right here. All right. The next thing we need to do is that we need to set up our voice agent part of our AI avatar agent. And for this, I'm going to use LiveKit as always. For this, you can simply Google LiveKit and then click on the first link. If you're a regular viewer of this channel, you already know how this goes, but if you're not, LiveKit is a very comprehensive development kit in order to create AI voice agents. And the next thing we need to do is that we need to click on this Start Building button. And here's where you would need to create an account. I already have one, and don't worry, you don't have to pay anything to use this. There's a free tier. And the next thing we would need to do is that we need to create a project down here. We would need to click on this drop down and then click on Create New Project. And then you can give it a name, for example, Support Agent. And then you can click on Create. I already created this project, so I'm not going to create a new one. Then you can select it by clicking here and then selecting it like that. Then we can click on this button over here that says Voice AI Quick Start. Here we have a very comprehensive and very easy to follow tutorial how to set up your first AI voice agent. And there are a couple of requirements that you have to meet in order to set this up. First of all, you have to have Python installed that's equal or greater to the version 3.9. If you don't have Python installed, you can simply Google Python, download, click on the first link. And here's where you can select a Python version. Again, anything that's equal or greater to 3.9 is fine. You can click on any version over here to download and install it as well. The next thing we would need to do is that we would need to set up UV. Here you can click on the website in order to see the installation guide. And if you're using Windows, you can simply copy this command over here to install it, or if you're using Mac OS or Linux, you can click over here and then simply copy these commands and then put them into a terminal. I'm going to use Windows, or I'm using Windows, so I'm going to copy this link, and then we can go back to cursor. And here's where you can open a new terminal for the installation. What you can press is Ctrl-Shift-P, and then you can type in create new terminal. I'm gonna select PowerShell, and down here now you have a new terminal, and then you can simply right click in here to paste it into the terminal, and then you can press enter. Now UV is installed. After that, we can go back to the voice AI quick start, and then we can simply follow all of the steps of this tutorial. And the next thing we need to install is LiveKit CLI. Again, you can simply select your operating system and then copy this command here. Go back to VS Code and simply right click in it and then press enter. After that's installed, we can simply follow the next step of the guide. We can go back to the guide, and then we can go to the next command over here and then copy it right here. Then we can go back to cursor, and then we also paste it into the terminal by right clicking, pressing enter. And then you need to give this device a name. You can simply call it support avatar, press enter. This will open you a new tab in the browser right here. And here's where we need to select the project which we give it access to. And here you can simply select the project we created in the beginning, support avatar, and then click on allow access. Now we can close this and go back to cursor. And then you have to tell it if you want to use this as your project or default project. You can select yes here. I already used the name support avatar multiple times. That's why I need to give it a different name. You probably don't have to do this. I'm simply going to call it support avatar 1. And that's it. And then we can follow the next step back in the guide. Here we can scroll down a little bit. And here's where you would need to select real-time model. And then we would need to follow the next step. Here I would only recommend you to copy the first line instead of copying the whole command, because these are actually two different commands. So you can simply copy the first line and then go back to cursor and then go to the terminal, right click in it. And this part over here is actually a name of a folder which we're going to initialize now. And I don't want to call it LiveKit voice agent, so I'm going to simply change that by calling it support agent. And then we need to write --bear here and then press enter. And over here now, you have this new folder with a new file inside of it. Now we have to navigate into this new folder by typing cd and then support. You can actually now just press the tab button to autocomplete that and then press enter. And now we are inside of this new folder. Now we can continue with the next step of the guide. And now we have to install a couple of libraries. And for this, we can simply copy this whole command here again. But here it breaks it into multiple lines. And if you copy this or if you paste this into the terminal and press enter, most likely you're going to get an error. So in order to fix that, we can simply copy this whole command, open like an editor or something like that, entering it here, and then remove all of these backslashes in order to turn this into a single line, like that. Copy this whole command, and then go into cursor, and then right click in here, and then press enter again. Now a couple of libraries are installed, and what you will also see is that now we have this new folder here, which is a virtual environment, and inside of it, we have all of the libraries that we just installed. All right. So the next step is to follow the guide again. And here's where we would need to create a .env file where we have all of our environment variables inside of it. And for this, we are using this command here. You can copy this again and go to cursor again, right click, press enter. What you will now see is that you will have this new file here called .env.local. And inside of it, you have all of the information that you need in order to connect to your support agent project that we created in the beginning in the cloud, in the LiveKit account. And these are all of the information that we need in order to connect to that. Now we can continue with the guide again. And the next step here is that we would need to copy all of the actual code of the actual voice agent. And for this, you can click on this button here again. Copy that, go to cursor, And over here, we would need to now create a new file by clicking on this button and then calling it agent.py. Press enter. And here you can simply paste all of this code and then pressing Ctrl S to save that. So now we have all of the actual code of the voice agent inside of here. But before we can continue, there's one more API key which we would need because we are using OpenAI as the large language model. So of course, we would need to have a OpenAI API key. And for this, you would need to create a new account on OpenAI if you don't already have one. For this, you can simply Google OpenAI API key, press enter. Then you can click on the first link. Again, you would need to create an account here. And OpenAI is not free to use. You would need to upload some credits in order to use it. Don't worry, you don't have to do anything crazy. You can simply upload like $5 to $10 or something like that just to try it out. But if you already did that, you can now create an OpenAI API key here on this button. Then you can give it a name. Let's call it support agent 1, for example, and then click on create secret key. Here you have now your API key and you can click on this button to copy it. Now we can go back to cursor. We have to go back to the .env file again. And in here we have to type in here OpenAI API key. And then we have to enter our API key in here. Then we have to also press Ctrl S to save that. All right, so one last step. We have to go back to the guide again. Then we have to scroll down here. And then we have to copy this last command here. This command here will download some essential files which we need in order to start our agent. Now we have to go back to cursor again, paste it in here, press enter. Now it's downloaded. And now in here in the guide, there's a command which we can use to start our agent in local mode. So we can paste it in here again and then press enter.
Hello, how's it going? I'm here to help with anything you need. What can I do for you today?
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi there. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you? How's everything going on your end?
You can press Ctrl C to exit this call. And there you go. Now you have a working voice agent. So since we are creating an AI avatar IT support agent, of course, we wanted to be able to see our screen or share our screen with it. So it has the ability to navigate us through any issue that we might have as a user. And that's actually incredibly easy to do. All you need to do is go to the section over here that says session.start. And then here you need to write video enabled true. And that's it. Now it's able to see your screen. And by the way, if you have a similar issue like I do here, where you have some warnings here and it's not able to recognize the libraries that you installed, that's actually a very common problem that a lot of people have. All you need to do is press Ctrl-Shift-P, and then you need to type in select interpreter, and then you need to select enter interpreter path, and then you need to click on find. And here you simply click on your virtual environment, then you click on scripts, and then you select Python and then select interpreter. And now this issue is resolved. Okay, so now if we want to test out our agent, if it's able to see our screen, we can use the LiveKit playground for that. But first we need to start our agent in dev mode. And in order to do that, you need to use the command uv run agent.pydev. Now it's up and running, and now we can go to the browser, and then we can Google playground LiveKit, and then click on the first link. And here's where we need to select the project that we created at the beginning. Click on connect to support avatar.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hi, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How about you? Everything going well on your end?
So down here, you can actually go ahead and have all of these elements that you can use to interact with this front end. So for example, I can turn off my microphone here, or I can also share my screen with clicking this button over here. And then I can select, for example, cursor, and then share that. Wait a minute, I also have to enable my microphone again. Hi, can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see your screen now. It looks like you're working on some code, and I can see a terminal with some logs at the bottom. Let me know what you'd like help with.
Great, so now it can see our screen. So the next step is to give our AI IT support agent access to a backend of any software that we might have. So it can basically play the role of an IT administrator. So for instance, it can unblock a blocked user for us automatically. And for this, I actually created a dummy app that is a stand-in for such a software, which I called the generic corporate app. Over here, I added this folder. And don't worry, I will put this folder or this app into this video description down below. So you can also download it and then put it into your support agent folder as well. So you can also follow along. And I can show you how this app actually looks like. So for this, we can go to the terminal and we can type in cd and navigate into this folder, generic corporate app. And then we have to start this app by typing npm dev. And over here now you have this link where you can click onto, and then that will open a app here in your browser. For this, you will have to have Node.js and npm installed. And don't worry, I will also link a video in the video description that explains how to install these two things. But for now, I can show you how this app works. So this app is actually just a login screen. So if you put in some correct credentials, you can actually log into a dashboard of some sorts. And the correct username for this would be Vienna Maxman123. And the password here is simply password actually, written in this format, password with a 0 as an O. We can copy this, we can put it into the password field, try to log in, and here you can see this dashboard over here. Of course, if I type in something incorrectly, for example, an incorrect password with this username again, I will get this error message saying that my username or password is incorrect, like in any other software. So we can try this again with the correct one. Again, we can log in. And what I also added was the functionality to be able to block users. So if we go back into cursor and we go into this generic corporate app folder, there's a public folder in here and then a txt file saying blocked users or block users. And if I type in here maxman123 and I save this file and I go back to the app, I try to log in correctly again, I will now get this error message over here saying that I have been blocked. That's basically just a dummy function of being able to block users. So now if you want the AI agent to be able to perform the task of unblocking the user for us, we can now create a function tool for that. But first we would need to add some new files in our folder. For this we can click on this button again and then type in tools.py, and we would also need to add a prompts.py. Inside of this tools.py, we are going to define the actual function tool. But first I would need to add some new libraries in here that I'm going to use. And I also need to add some code or the actual code of the function tool itself that I already prepared. And don't worry, I'm going to share the code of this whole agent in the video description down below so you don't have to type this yourself. But for now, let me explain what this does. So first of all, I created a function that is called Unblock user, and it is very important to pass this parameter called run context that is important for the function tool itself. But after that, you can pass actually any variable that you want. In this case, I simply passed the username itself. And here it's very important to give this function tool a fitting description so the AI agent knows what it actually does. In this case, it simply says unblock users so they can log in again. And this function tool is actually very simple. So all it does is that it simply goes into the folder generic corporate app over here. And then it goes into the public folder. over here. And then it goes to or accesses the block user txt. And all it does after that is it simply clears the content of this file. So if you remember, we are only blocked if the username of the user is inside of the file. If it's cleared, then of course we can log in again. And that's it. That's all it actually does. So another thing which we would have to add is inside of the prompt.pile a description when to actually use the tool properly. So for this, I already prepared a fitting prompt right here. So here it's a very simple instruction what the agent should actually do. First of all, I tell it what it actually is. So it says that it's a helpful voice AI support assistant. And then I define a task for it to do. So it simply says that it should help the user. And here's a step-by-step instruction how to do that. So first of all, it should actually start by asking the user what the actual issue is. And then it will either try to resolve your problem by either answering questions or guiding you step by step while you are sharing your screen. And the thing it will also look for is actually if you typed in your username correctly. If you remember in the beginning, I showed you that the username should start very specifically. It should start with a backslash, followed with the domain, and then a backslash again, and then the actual username. So like this. So if you have a typo in it or you misspelled it somehow with a forward slash, for example, it will also be able to spot that error and then will tell you that you should change that. As well as, now comes the important part, unblocking the user. So if it sees on your screen that you have the error message that you are blocked, then it will use the tool unblock user, of course, to, of course, unblock the user. All right, so now we can save this by pressing Ctrl S. Now we have to go into the agent.py file. And now we have to give these two things to the agent. So first of all, we have to give it the tool to unblock the user. And then we also need to give it the agent instruction. But first, I can see here that I actually accidentally put these files outside of this folder. So we have to move them inside of here. Like that. Okay. And the next thing is that we have to replace this instruction with the agent instruction, first of all. Agent instruction. And then we will also need to give it the tools like this. All right, so we can save this now. By the way, if you have multiple terminals open, you can actually switch between them over here. So here's the other terminal. And in here, I can now type again uv run agent.py to start this in dev mode. Now it's up and running. And now we can try this out. I can go back to the playground over here. I can connect to this again.
Hello, how's it going? Let me know what you need help with today.
Yeah, I cannot log in. Can you help me with that?
Of course, I can help you with that. Could you share your screen so I can see exactly what's going on? That way, I can guide you step by step to fix the login issue.
Yeah, sure. Wait a minute. Let me try this.
Take your time. Once you share the screen, I'll take a look at the login details. We'll make sure the username format is correct and see if anything else is blocking you.
Can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see your screen now. It looks like the username format is correct with the backslash, but I see a message saying your account has been blocked. I can help you unblock it. Could you confirm the username you're using so I can proceed to unblock it for you?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've unblocked your account. You should be able to log in now. Go ahead and try clicking the sign in button again. If there are any other issues, we can troubleshoot further.
Great, it works. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad it's working now. If you need any more help or run into any other issues, just let me know.
Great, so now that works. So now if we go back to cursor and we look at the terminal down here, we can see here that it executed the tool called Unblock user. It also passed the username properly with Vienna Maxman 123. And it also shows here that it successfully cleared the block user txt, because if we go back to the tool, we can see here that I printed that out onto the terminal after the file was cleared. And of course, this is a very simplistic way to do this. If you have a real software where you access the user administration, you would have to make this more complex, but you get the idea, and this is just for demo purposes. So if you want to actually do this, for example, with Active Directory or something like that, all you need to do is simply create the proper code for that, so you can access wherever your user are blocked, and then it can execute this proper tool, and then the user is unblocked as well. By the way, if you're interested to use the voice agent I'm creating this video or in past videos to start your own business, for example, an AI voice agent agency, I just put together a free guide to show you step by step how to start such a business and how to scale it. So if you want the free guide, just fill out the survey in the video description down below to grab it. Again, it's completely free. Now back to the video. So now for the moment you all have been waiting for, now we can add the AI avatar to our AI voice agent. And for this, I'm going to use a tool called Beyond Presence. And for this, we can go to the browser again, to Google Beyond Presence AI. And then we can click on this first link over here. And here we are on their website. And Beyond Presence is a very sophisticated and very easy to use tool in order to either create conversational AI agents, AI avatar agents, or add these AI avatars to your application. In this case, we can integrate it very easily into LiveKit because they have a out-of-the-box integration into LiveKit, as you can see here. It also has a very easy integration into init if you want to use that. But for now, we can go ahead and click on Get Started for free. Here you would need to create an account. And by the way, this is a paid tool, so you would have some free credits that you can use up until a point. I think it's 20 minutes or so. But after that, you would need to pay for your credits, or you would need to pay for a subscription. And over here, you can now select from a couple of avatars that come right out of the box. You click on avatars. Here you can see all of the avatars that you can select from. I'm going to use this one, Nelly in the office. And we can copy the ID by clicking this button over here. And also we need to create a API key, and we can do that over here. And here we can click on create API key. And again, we can give this a name. Let's just call this support agent. Click on create. Now we can copy this API key. It's very important that you copy this, or that you save this somewhere safe, because after you close this window, you cannot look at this again. So you can copy this and either save it in a password saver or something like that. So anywhere where you can access it later again. So now we can close this, and then we can go back to cursor. Then we can go to the .env file. And here we would need to add two more things. One is the Beyond Presence API key. We can press, or we can type a Bay API key, and then we can add this here, which we just copied. And then we can also add a avatar ID. We can call this Bay avatar ID. And then we can paste this here as well. This is the thing that I copied from the avatar that I selected. And then we can save that. And now we have to integrate it into the agent.py file. And then here we have to scroll to, or go to the section above the session.start. And then we have to add some code here. It's actually very short. Looks something like this. Here we have to replace this. Either you can write the ID in here, or we can call this from the .env file. We can add this snippet here, and then we can say Bay avatar ID, like this. And then we need to import some new libraries here. Here we need to import Bay. And here we also need to import OS, like that. But we also have to install something. First we can actually save this by pressing Ctrl S. And now we also have to install the dependency or the library to use Beyond Presence, which is this command over here. It says uv add LiveKit agents bay. Then we can press enter. Now that's installed. And now you can also see that we can now use it and the warning is gone. So what we can do now is we can start this application again. Now that's up and running again. We can go back to the playground. Then we can try this out again.
Hi there. How can I help you today?
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How can I help you today?
Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you. Your camera is on, and I can see you sitting in front of your desk. If you need help with something on your screen or computer, feel free to share it, and I can walk you through it.
Great, so as you can see now this works, and it's actually, the response time is actually quite good. So now I also want the AI agent to be able to send an email for us, because normally if you're talking to IT support, if you're having an issue, they are going to create a support ticket for that. And after they resolve the issue, normally they would also send you a mail of the summary of all the steps that they took and also of your issue. And I also want our avatar AI agent to be able to do that. And for this, we can create an additional tool. We can simply go to the tools.py here and then add a new tool. Very similar like before, I also prepared this code beforehand. So let me just simply paste this here for you. Again, I also created a function here, and I also annotated this as a function tool so the AI knows that this is a tool to use. Again, I also specified the run context as a parameter to pass, but additionally, I also added some new parameters here for the email, of course, the recipient, the subject of the email, and the actual message, as well as a CC if I, for example, want to send this to another person as well. Again, you also need to give this a fitting description so the AI knows what this is. So here it just simply says send an email through Gmail. Here I also gave it a more fitting description to each parameter so it doesn't mix them up. And when we start this code, it's actually also quite simple. Here it configures a connection to an email server. What you also need is when you are using Gmail is some credentials for authorization to connect to your email account or Gmail account. Here you would need to specify the Gmail account itself, and you would also need to generate a Gmail app password for authorization. And don't worry, I'm gonna also link a video in the video description down below to show how you would get this password. But if we continue here, I create the message, and here I connect to the email server, and then the email is sent. So actually it's also quite simple. And another thing which we would have to add is these credentials here in the .env file as well. So for now I can save this. I need to go to the .env file, and then I would need to add these credentials here. I also prepared this as well. Again, there's a video in the video description down below to show you where you can get these. Now we can save this as well. And now also need to tell the AI agent that we now added this new tool. So here I need to import this new tool as well. I can say send email. Then I have to specify this to the agent as well, like this. And of course, we would also need to update the agent instruction for it to know when to use this tool or how to properly use it. So now we can go into this prompt again, and then we can add another thing here. Or down here, I also prepared this. Here are some additional steps. So here I simply tell it when to use or when to send a ticket, when to send an email. And here I also specified how these emails should look like. So here's an example of an email in case that the issue was resolved. Here's also a example of an email when the issue is unresolved. And here I also tell it that it should tell the user that it created a support ticket, and then it is sending an email summary for you at the end. Of course, it's not creating an actual ticket, it just tells it to do that. If you want to create an actual ticket for it, that's actually also doable. You would also need to create a function tool for that, and then you will also need to update the prompts to pile in order to use it properly. And that's it now. We can save this. And now we can try this out again by going to the playground again. And we can simply connect to this.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hi, I have an issue with my login. I tried the username with a /. Is that correct?
It sounds like the format might be causing the login issue. The correct format for the username is to start with a /, like this, domain-username. Could you double check how you've entered it? If you'd like, you can share your screen so I can guide you through the steps.
Oh, okay, I tried it with the /. Now it works. Thank you, my issue is resolved.
That's great news. I'm glad we could solve it. To wrap this up, could you please share your email address? I'll send you a summary of the solution and let you know that a ticket has been created and closed. You're all set. I've created and closed the ticket, and you should receive that summary email shortly. If you ever need help again, feel free to reach out. Have a great day.
Thank you, bye-bye. So as you can see here, we have now this email, and here we can see what we were talking about. So here we talked about verifying the account credentials, adjusted the username format, and then it worked. So as you could tell, the agent was able to send us the email, but it was actually completely silent while it was doing that. And that's actually quite awkward because we're just sitting there in silence while it's not giving us any feedback while it's doing so. And we can actually fix that by giving it a sound effect, which sounds like it is actually typing on the keyboard while it's executing the tool. So it's actually very easy to add that. All we need to do is go back into the agent.py file. And then we need to add a code snippet down here above this generate reply section, which is this one here. And this is called a thinking sound. This thinking sound is played while it is actually executing the tool. And in this case, it's keyboard typing. So it sounds like it's typing on the keyboard. And we also need to add some libraries here. I also prepared this already. And now we have to save that, and that's actually it. Now we can try this out again by going to the browser and connecting to this again.
Hello there. How can I help you today?
Hi, I have an issue logging into my account. I tried the /, is that correct?
It sounds like the issue might be the username format. For generic corporate app, you need to use a /, not a /.
Yeah, now I tried the / and it works. Thank you, my issue is resolved.
That's great to hear. Let me quickly create a ticket and send you a summary of the solution by email. Could you please provide your email address?
How's it looking?
I've sent the email summary of the solution to your address. You should receive it shortly. The issue is now fully resolved, and the ticket is created and closed. If you need any more help in the future, feel free to reach out.
Thank you, bye-bye. So as you could hear it, it was actually able to play this sound effect, and it's actually quite nice because it gives you audio feedback. So the next step would be to integrate our AI avatar IT support agent into a custom frontend so you can interact with the frontend as well. So for example, it can show a visual notification when it actually did something, like when it unblocked a user, it can actually show a bubble that says successfully unblocked user XYZ, like you saw in the demo. But for this, you would already have to have a custom frontend created. but don't worry, you can actually use one of the starter apps that come from LiveKit itself. And for this, you can go to the browser and then you can Google LiveKit starter React, and then you can click on the first link. And here you have a code of a very good looking front end that you can actually use. This is also very similar to the playground itself. And if you download this and then you start this up, it would look something like this. Again, this is very similar to the playground itself. And then you can also start a call by clicking this button.
Hello, how can I assist you today?
And as you can see, that looks very similar to the playground. You also have, you can also enable your webcam here. And you can also have a chat where you can type something in here. And again, this is very similar to the playground, but you can actually download this and customize it however you want. And I actually did that and ended up with something like this, where I changed it a little bit so it looks visually more fitting to our use case. And I actually already created a whole tutorial how to get this starter app going and how to customize it for your specific use case so you can have your own custom front end. And I'm going to link it here in the info card. So I would recommend you to watch that video first, create your own custom UI, and then come back to this point and then continue with the video so you can follow along. So now if you got the starter app going and you customized your own custom front end and you opened it in Cursor, you would have all of these folders and files available to you like I do here. And don't worry, I will also leave my custom front end in the video description down below so you can also download that and use that as well. But for now, what we would need to do in order to make the AI avatar agent interact with the front end is that we would need to add a new component into this components file here, or into this components folder here. So currently we have the AI agent implemented that when we start it up will run on a LiveKit server. And then we can use a front end to render the audio and video from the agent so we can interact with the agent. And now if we want to actually show something on or make it interact with the front end after, for example, we executed a tool successfully, what we need to use is something called RPC methods. And for this, we would also need to add a new component on the front end that is able to handle those methods. So what will happen here is that when we execute a tool, we would need to make an RPC call to the front end. And then the RPC handler goes ahead and shows an animation based on which tool was called. So that's what we're going to do. So what we need to do is that we need to update our function tools in order to perform these RPC method calls. And for this, we can go back to the tools.py file right here. And then we need to add some new code snippet within our function tools, which are also already prepared. So what we need to do is that we would need to access a LiveKit room. So when you start a LiveKit call, you will always have this room in which your participants of the call are inside of. In our case, the participants is us and the AI avatar IT support agent. And within that room, you can perform these RPC method calls, like I do it right here. And in that method call, you need to specify which method you are calling. In this case, I called it client show notification. And you can also send a payload with that method call. In this case, I sent some data in which I specify that I called it from the Unblock user function tool, as well as I also passed the username, which I unblocked in this case. And then I wait for the response if it was successful, and that's actually it. And here we have to also update it with the send mail function very similarly. So down here, I also have to add some code like this. And again, this is actually almost the same, with the exception of that here we send that this function was called from the send mail function, as well as the email address to which we sent this email. So you can actually show on the front end that it successfully sent the email to XYZ email address. And that's actually it. So now we can save this. So now we can add the new component to our customized UI, the RPC handler. And for this, we can go to the components folder, and then we can add a new file here. and we call this RPC handler.tsx. And here I also already prepared some code. Now this looks like a lot, but actually it's not that much. So what we need to do is that we would need to declare a RPC method that handles the RPC call. And within that RPC call, we'll also get a payload that I called data over here. And inside of that data, we get the payload that we sent from the function tool, like you see before. And inside of that payload, we can then extract if it was sent from unblock user or it was sent from send email. In case it was sent from unblock user, we will extract the username from the payload, and then we will show a message that says username XYZ was unblocked. And also we will show the background color of the notification pop-up as green. In case it was the send email function tool that invoked this method, we will then extract the email address from the payload. And then in the message, we show successfully sent email to XYZ email address. And the background color of the notification bubble will be blue. And that's actually it. The rest of this code is just animation and just the front-end integration of this bubble. Another thing which is important is that we listen to the RPC method that is called client show notification within the room. Because if you remember, we actually specified that this is the method that we call on the side of the agent. And that's actually it. Another thing which we now have to add is that we need to add this RPC handler to the actual app. And for this, we can go to the app.tsx file. And then we need to import now this new component, like this, RPC handler. Or it's probably called differently here. RPC handler, like that. And then we need to go down here. And here's where you render all of the UI components from this call. And now we can just add it in here. We can say RPC handler. And that's actually it. Also, we need to save this file, of course, this RPC handler file. And now it should work. Now we can finally test our final product. And for this, we can start the front end with pnpm dev. And then we can click on this link to start our front end in the browser over here. Now we have to block our user, of course, to test this out. For this, we can go back into cursor, and then we can go back into the generic corporate app folder here. We select the block user txt. We can write maxman123. Let's save this. Go back to the agent and try this out. We can start the call.
Hello, how can I help you today?
Hi, I'm having trouble logging into my account. Can I share my screen with you so you can have a quick look at that?
Sure, please go ahead and share your screen. I'll guide you through the steps to resolve the login issue.
Wait a second.
Take your time. Let me know once your screen is shared and I'll take a look.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen. It looks like your account is blocked. Let me go ahead and unblock your account so you can try logging in again. Your account has been successfully unblocked. Please try to sign in again now and let me know if it works.
Great, it works. Thank you, my issue is resolved.
That's fantastic to hear. I'm glad we got your issue resolved. Now I'll create and close a support ticket for this solution. Could you please provide your email address so I can send you a summary of what we did? I've sent you a summary email, and the ticket has been created and closed. If you need any more help, feel free to reach out. Have a great day.
Bye-bye, thank you. And there we go, everything works now. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. As always, if there's any feature you want to see in a future video, just leave a comment down below about it. And again, if you want to grab the free guide how to start your own AI voice agent agency, just fill out the survey in the video description down below to grab it. And on that note, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.